Hello, welcome to the musical show, the show where I blabber on about music for 15 minutes. 8 albums were released last week. Thankfully, not as many this week. I need a bit of a break. but, yeah, it took me all the way until yesterday to get them all finished because of the way I scheduled them. I did 2 on the Friday, I did 1 on the Saturday, I did 1 on the Sunday, I did 2 on the Monday, then 1 Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to get all 8 done. It was pretty tough. Although, thankfully, they weren't all, super long, so I could listen to them on, commutes, and it wasn't actually that bad. It could have been so much worse. There was only really 2. There was only 3 super long ones, and 2 of them are decent, so it wasn't that bad in the end. One of them wasn't that great, though. Although one album that was long, that I didn't mention, was Summers' debut, who I decided I'm not going to review, because his appearance on Trippie Redd's album was shite, and I cannot be arsed listening to a 25-song trap album. Well, I'm presuming it's trap. It's like a weird sort of underground trap-inspired thingy from what I've heard. He's got a weird sound to him. But yeah, I just thought I can't be arsed listening to this. So yeah, I was relieved to see there was no features that were famous that would make me have to force myself to listen to it. There's 9 albums in a single week. I would have done it, but it wouldn't have been fun. So yeah. Right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to review the 8 albums, talk about the albums that I'm going to review that released today, plus look at my top 3 best albums of the month and top 3 worst. And I might do a little bit for the most disappointed album, although I might just do it while I'm reviewing it, because, spoiler alert, it's in the 8 that released. Right, enough of me blabbering on, let's get to them. I'm going to do this from worst to best, starting off with the worst, which is Popcann's Great Izzy. Although it's got, to be honest, one of the best album covers out of the lot. I really like that. It looks amazing, doesn't it? Don't you think it looks super good? One of the best album covers of the year so far. But I don't care about album covers, so that's enough about that. To be honest, I know I'm calling it the worst, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be, especially after the first few songs, which are absolutely dire. But there were a few moments where there was actually some decent songs in there, but there was nothing particularly special. And yeah, it was a mixed bag. And yeah, as I said, had a lot of absolute shit in it. And every song that there was a feature in, Popcann got absolutely outdone, honestly. It's almost sad to see someone dominated by features so much. Let me give you some examples. There was Stuck on His Ways, the Summers album is called, by the way. There was that song with Burna Boy, which Burna Boy had a fantastic performance, but yeah, it absolutely outshined Popcann. Drake, while I don't like the chorus at all, he at least performed on it decent enough. Plus, Chronic Law and Torian Singh on their appearances outdone Popcann as well. So yeah, that's not a particularly good sign. But some of them are the best songs because of the features. And as I said, that Burna Boy feature was fantastic. Yeah. There's potential for him to be sort of decent and drop a decent enough project that's pretty enjoyable. But yeah, he definitely needs to improve on the beat selection, which a lot of it was quite mid. And his production I didn't really like. But I was expecting it to be absolutely hopeless and one of the worst things I've ever heard. And it ended up actually not being far from being average, above average. A 4.2 out of 10. It's a bad rating, but not a super bad one. Next up, we've got not Quincy, Quinn92. I figured out how to pronounce it with the People's Champ. To be honest, at first look, I thought it was going to be one of those pretentious country albums. It was a pop album. And it actually started off okay with the first few tracks being decent. Big Sean's performance wasn't terrible, but there was some offensively bad production, and for whatever reason, they obsessively put auto-tune all over his voice, even though he can sing pretty well. It's only good auto-tune if there's if you're going for that sort of sound, if you've got a fuck ton of it, and it's sort of your usual style. Playboi Carti and Lil Uzi Vert, like, that's their thing. I know Lil Uzi Vert goes by they, them. I mean, like, those two in, like, a group as in there. In case you're confused, although none of you probably even knew Lil Uzi Vert went by they, them anyway, so I don't know why I said that. Anyway, but, like, that's their sound. It's understandable then, and it's produced pretty well, so it sounds decent. But, yeah, it was produced horrifically in Quinn 92's album, and for whatever reason, they decided to feature AJR. Well, he decided to feature AJR, Quinn 92. No one's surprised that song was shit, and yeah, it had a decent enough start and a decent enough end, but the middle was absolutely horrific, and it did bring it down a fair bit. Honestly, after the first 2 tracks, I thought this had quite decent potential. So yeah, this is my most disappointing album of the month. 4.6 out of 10. After the way it started, I really thought it could be just something decent. Next up, we've got Samuel Smith with Gloria, which I was expecting, as we heard me say in the previous episode, to be a 2. But you know what? It was not that bad. It far exceeded my expectations. Sam Smith just managed to make the 2 worst songs on the album the 2 biggest songs on, like, TikTok and stuff, because I don't really look at singles that much. That's why I never really put them on the side, because I don't care. This is an album show, not a bloody single show. I'll talk about them eventually in an album form, probably. But, yeah, that aside, while I said it far exceeded my expectations, it's nothing special, and it's largely mid-pop and R&B. But it had its highlights. It had some decent songs, especially towards the end. Who We Love, I'm Not Here to Make Friends is alright as well. And Gloria I do enjoy because it's something different. That's one thing about the album. You cannot deny Sam Smith in a lot of the songs was going for a different sound than they usually do. Hopefully I haven't misgendered him I jinxed myself. Hopefully I haven't misgendered them before that, and obviously when I did that throughout the thing. But yeah, I'm just sort of hoping that I haven't forgotten. But yeah, I apologise if I have. But yeah, I've never been so happy with an album that's relatively average. But yeah, it was a pretty fun listen. I had some highlights, and there were very few moments that were offensively bad. It was just Unholy and Gimme, really. Apart from that, it was just pretty mid and so-so. But it was far better than the atrocious mess I was expecting. And now I'm actually going to give it a 6 out of 10. Next up, we've got Cheat Codes, who I figured out aren't just a country group. They're a bloody EDM group, and for some reason they decided to fuse EDM and country. Put Dolly Parton on a flipping EDM song. You'll have to hear it. It's actually mad. It's kind of cool in a way. But yeah, it actually like kind of works. And honestly, I mean, it's not the best thing I've ever heard. It's impossible for either genre to be. They're not like my favourite genres. But to see them fused together and actually not sound absolutely awful is actually pretty impressive. And I've got to commend them with how decent this turned out. Pretty respectable album in my eyes. I know this was a lot quicker than the proper tangent I went on about Sam Smith's album. But yeah, there's a lot less to say. Or maybe I'm just biased because Sam Smith's a bigger artist than Cheat Codes and has a bigger influence on society today. But yeah, 6 out of 10, again. Really not that bad, surprisingly. Next up, we've got Ava Max. While it's not unique at all, it bangs. Like, the production is done so well. And every so often, she steps out of her comfort zone. While it would be mainstream and boring for, say, Becky Hill with some of the more dance-orientated tracks, I feel like it's not Ava Max's forte. She just makes fun pop. She's just a pop. She's just a pop artist. And while there wasn't anything, like, incredible and, like, Song of the Year worthy or anything, it was fun. And yeah, as I say, it wasn't unique. It got repetitive in parts, but it was a fun listen. It just banged more than pretty much any other mainstream pop artist who makes mainstream boring music does. It's a 7, honestly. Like, it just bangs. It's just something about the production. And it's not so mainstream sounding that it's painful, even though it is mainstream sounding. Yeah, 7 out of 10. It's decent. I don't know whether I put the 7 out of 10 bit like a long time ago or like just then. But we'll figure out when I'm editing it and what 7 out of 10 I'll shove the 7 out of 10 bit in. Who cares? SG Lewis with Audio Lust and Higher Love. But there is one major gripe I have, and like albums that do this in general. He put a song that was on another album months ago, the Tough Low album that released last year, that was pretty mid. I think I have it as a 5.7 out of 10 if you're wondering. As I say, if you want me to review any specific album, I will. Just comment it down below and I will, if the comments are on. And even if they're not, you can just find me another way, like community post or something. And yeah, it's just lazy. And it's a long album. You don't need it. It got boring in some parts. But the second half was fantastic. And it was a fun listen. It felt like a quintessential FIFA album in a way. I might actually listen to it while I'm playing FIFA. I've got some like ideas of like albums that released this year I might use for like certain activities. Like Mac DeMarco's album's like a study album. This could be like a FIFA album if I ever get bored of the soundtrack itself. But yeah, if it was just the second half and like a 30, 40 minute album, something like that, maybe 30, 35, maybe being more realistic. Epiphany onwards, if you've actually heard the album, it would be like an 8 or a 9. The second half was fantastic, but unfortunately the first half does bring it down, as it is, admittedly, pretty mid. Although, there wasn't anything hopelessly bad. So yeah, it's super flawed, especially in the first half, but again, it was a really fun listen, and it got really good towards the end. Overall, a 7.4 out of 10. Now, this album is going under the radar, and I absolutely despise how it is, because it is so good. It's Kimbra's A Reckoning. There are so few flaws. There's just little bits of mixing. There's just a few little bits of like verses of the features. But the way she like fuses trap, almost folk pop in a way, folk inspired, Lana Del Rey inspired in a way, but almost like made into Kimbra's own sound. The trap elements, the hyperpop elements, all of that just fusions into one. Honestly, it is genuinely impressive how many genres she crammed into here without it feeling like a complete mess. Honestly, I cannot sing my praise of this album enough. I might need to re-listen to figure out if it's actually a 10, because it is absolutely fantastic. And at the moment, I've got it as a 9.8. But there's one album to go, and I'm pretty sure you know what direction this is going. Bim, bim, bom, I've got a new 10 out of 10. Lil Yachty's Let's Start Here. Let's start here. Let's start this new direction for Lil Yachty right here. And hopefully go upwards. Because if you go upwards, oh my god. Because this album is already incredible. As I said, it's a 10 out of 10. Whether it's actually like there on the rating yet, whether the rating's actually been shown on the actual album's face up there yet, or not, it's a 10. You can hear me say it. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Lyrically, like, it's not like a lyrical miracle. Like, it's not a spiritual lyrical miracle. But, like, for Lil Yachty standards, there's some fantastic lyrical moments. I've officially lost vision. Lyrically, is genuinely fantastic. And given the bar for Lil Yachty is quite low, given this guy wrote possibly the worst rap lyric of all time, she blow that dick like a cello. You can't blow a cello, babes. It's mind-blowing how actually decent it was. But yeah, the instrumentals were actually real. There was a genuine band playing them. He did the production. So yeah, that was fantastic. He had a huge role in making the album the way it was. And the band did fantastic as well. And he did venture into directions of the sort of psychedelic scene. You had like proper Tame Impala sounds of songs. You had almost Pink Floyd sounds of songs. The Black Seminoles, a huge example. The Great Gig in the Sky influences are so incredibly obvious, it's actually funny. Plus almost the like disco sounded little songs such as let me find one. I think Paint the Sky is an example. I think this is... Is The Alchemist a decent example? I mean, it's the worst song of the album, so I suppose it's not. On first listen, it prevented it from being a 10. I originally had it as a 9.5, if you're wondering, but yeah, it's a 10. It's that damn sucker lyric in this that ruins it for me. It's not that. It's not that. It's Drive Me Crazy. It's Drive Me Crazy. Yeah, that's like a cute, like the best example of like a proper disco song there is. But yeah, there's so many like directions, and for Lil Yachty, a trap artist, a SoundCloud, a mumble rap artist even, to do something like that. Honestly, it is it's astounding. Genuinely, it is. And some people say the vocals ruin it. For me, I think it almost like puts like an interesting spin on the psychedelic rock sound. It makes it sound like a Lil Yachty album. And to think I'm genuinely saying, yep, this psychedelic walk, because he took the walk to Poland. I stole that off Anthony Fantano, I know. To say, yup, this psychedelic rock album does sound like something Lil Yachty actually has made. Like, it genuinely sounds like something Lil Yachty could have made, like, a few years ago. Like, in the middle of the Little Boat series. It sounds like something he could always do. And the vocals just change that. It makes it sound quintessentially him in a way. And honestly, that is, like, the best part of the album. It makes it's... Whatever you say about this, good or bad, it's unique. And that is the best thing music can be in my eyes. But... yeah, to think it's a completely different genre and it still sounds like Lil Yachty made it astounds me every single time I think about it. Plus, Reach the Sunshine is probably already Song of the Year. I don't see how it could get beaten. It is absolutely incredible and genuinely an 11 out of 10 song. My first 11 out of 10, beyond perfect Song of the Year. But yeah, absolute masterpiece. As I've said, new 10 out of 10. Might have even been 2. I'll have to re-listen to that Kimbra thing and see if... I think it's a 10, because it is genuinely so close to being a 10. I'm not even kidding. But yeah, some fantastic albums, you know. Genuinely the first good week of albums. I know there was some mid ones, but like, there was only 2 albums below a 6, which given I reviewed 8 albums this week, is actually quite impressive. But after that, I'm only reviewing 2 albums from this week. 2, and I'll have listened to them and like plan my reviews and I've put my notes on my phone by tonight. I've already listened to one of them. That one being Shania Twain's Queen of Me. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but yeah, Shania Twain released one of the biggest country pop artists probably ever. So yeah, if that's what you're into, then yeah, go listen to it. But probably the biggest album is Ray's... God, I really should have checked what the album was called before I actually did the damn thing. It was like 21st Century... My 21st Century Blues. Ray's debut album. She had a song go absolutely gigantic on TikTok. It went number 1, the UK Escapism. It's that, the man that I love sat me down last night, if you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, because chances are you've heard of it. Although I don't think it's actually escaped TikTok, and that's like the only reason why it's like hugely... God, I've been filming for 90 minutes. It's hugely famous because I've got a friend who doesn't have TikTok and he hadn't heard of it. But yeah, Ray dropped. I will listen to that after I've finished editing, maybe during while I'm editing it. But yeah, I I'm not going to say my expectation for Shania Twain because I've already listened to it, and if I say that, I'm basically giving away what I rate it. But my expectations, I'm going to say a 7, because Escapism was a decent enough song. It was like an 8, 7, 8 out of 10 song, so I presume it's just going to be songs similar to that, so they're all going to be around the same bracket. A bit like Ava Max's album, like, they were all just 7 out of 10 songs, because it's the best mainstream sounding pop could be, like, throughout, without being particularly unique. But, yeah. I need to sleep. But I've got one last thing to show you before I go.
What are Oasis?
Alright, the 1975. Well, alright, Matty Healy. Hang on, someone follows me. False alarm. I've got a music review on TikTok where I just do like mini reviews of albums, and you can actually find out through this what I rate albums before the musical show comes out. It's called Music Reviews 69. Go follow. So yeah, if you're involved with like music talk, then yeah, I'm there as well. But yeah. That was fun. 8 albums last week compared to 2 this week. Almost needs of that. There's quite a big week towards the end of Feb where there's like 4 or 5 albums dropping. But yeah, I've already listened to one of them, and I'm looking forward to Ray's album. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and listen to that in the next while. By the time this episode is out, I will have probably already listened to it. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. See you next week. I need a breath. Hold the hell up for a minute, I'm not actually done. I almost forgot. Top 3 album of the months. Oh, top 3 album of the months. Oh my god. I'm in a rush. Top 3 albums of the month. 2 of them I just talked about. At number 1, 10 out of 10. Lil Yachty's Let's Start Here. Number 2, 9.8 out of 10. Kimber's Erect. This is why I don't talk fast usually, because I fucking can't. A reckoning, not a recushion. And at number 3 with an 8.9 out of 10 is Mac DeMarco's 5 Easy Hot Dogs. God, these last 2 weeks were needed for this not to be like an entirely shit month. Imagine none of those 3 would have dropped. The highest would have been a 7.4. But yeah, worst albums of the month. At number 3, French Montana, DJ Drama, Coke Boys 6, 3.9 out of 10. And at number 2, Lucas Graham, The Pink Tape, 3.5. Did you know they're a band? And at number 1, it's actually risen for me to like a 2.5, 2.6. Has it risen that much, actually? It was 2.4. I think we'll say 2.4 out of 10. Trippie Redd's Banshee Music. And defo a contender for worst album of the year. Alright, we're done.